Okay, we have not up to this point determined any angles. For the first time now, well actually we did some last year, but we're going to now determine angles. Your calculator will not do it for you. Your calculator will tell you if your answer is right or wrong. So that's good, right? It's better than nothing. Now, here are the steps. Now, we're going to first start with degrees. And with degrees, well, for both of them, this step takes the most thought. You have to determine the quadrants that we're in. It might be 1, it might be 2, it might be 3, it might be 4. Okay? When it's 2, 3, or 4, your calculator will not give you the answer. If it's only in one quadrant, it will give you the answer. Okay? Then you will go second sine, second cos, or second tan, the absolute value. So what does that mean? Well, if you have, when does tan x equal negative, or let's say negative 1. When does tan x equal negative 1? Well, first of all, I'm going to do the reference angle. We'll find the reference angle, you guys. So to find reference angle, you go second tan, and guess what you put in? 1. Okay? So you only take the absolute value of the answer. I do not want to do the negative ever. Okay? If it's positive, do the positive. If it's a negative, do the positive. Okay? If you have done your diagram right, you will draw in the reference angles. Reference angles are always to what axis? The x-axis. And then from your picture, you will decide what the angles are thinking. Not all those formulas. Okay, if it's in quadrant 3, you take 180 plus. And it's quadrant 2, 180 minus reference. And quadrant 4 is 360 minus reference. You don't have to do that. You can just look at it and go, yeah, well, that's what I would do anyway. Okay? So, let's look at, not that one. Let's look at next page. And we're going to be, like, how do you find even the reciprocal functions? How would you find out when cotan x equals root 3? Now, how would you know if this is in degree mode or if it is in radian mode? It's always going to be the question asked. Yeah? Someone was going to say something. There is no degree sign. Do you see? The domain will tell you. So you always have to look at the domain. So you remember in all the tests you've written, and Miss Kroll's up at the, in the gym, and she goes, guys, make sure your calculator's in degree mode. And you're like, oh yeah, okay. Hopefully, they don't say that to you for the 30 diploma. They'll say, you guys, make sure you keep switching back and forth from degrees to radians, whatever the question asks. That should be the directions, because it will be back and forth. You will look at the domain, which is this here. I'm in degree mode. So there's so many things you have to put into place. You know what's going to happen today? Sue's going, I can't get this one. I'm not getting the right answer. You're in the wrong mode. Oh, okay. And that's 5 minutes you wasted because you weren't proactive, so you had to react, right? So how you get proactive? Look at the information first. Now, I do not have a cotan button on my calculator. If you do, that's awesome. But you won't be allowed to take that one into the diploma. So we got to use his buddy. Who is cotan's buddy? Tan. So cotan is 1 over tan, correct? So can I rewrite underneath something that might be a bit more familiar? Do you see how those are equivalent? Got extra math in. See, those are equivalent, right? Now, when you have two things in ratio, what does that mean, two things in ratio? It means one fraction equaling one fraction. You could flip them both. And you do not change the equation. Okay? So if I flip it both, tan x equals 1 over root 3. Okay? Now, if you were to multiply by root 3 over root 3, you would get root 3 over 3. Now this isn't so bad. When does tan x equal root 3 over 3? Okay. So I have taken something that is impossible to do in my calculator and made it a little bit more accessible. Yep. I just multiplied this is just getting rid of radicals in the bottom. And when I multiply by 1, I can do that anywhere. I don't have to do that to both sides when I multiply by 1. Okay, if I multiply this by this equal 2, then I'd have to do it to the other side. When you multiply by 1 to a side, you're allowed to do one side, because you're really not changing the equation. Okay? Now, I am looking for when tan x equals root 3 over 3. Now, here's how you do these. After you've done that, that's like step A. Now we've got to do step 1. Now, step 1, so this is A. This is like getting rid of the reciprocal. I can't even start this thing till I've done A. Okay? Now, step 1 is find out what quadrants I am in. Okay? Now, being a visual learner, this stuff is golden for me. I am always going to do every question with you visually. Because the visual learners, they get that. And the auditory ones, well, they can pick up the stuff I'm saying. So everybody's happy, right? Now, here's how I find out what quadrants I look for. I look right here, okay? The thing in front of there, which will be the same as here. Okay, these will be the same thing. There is no way it should change from a positive to a negative. All I did was, and now can you see a faster way I could have got from here to here? Why don't I just flip this one every time? So if I'm going to make this tan x, because really this is what we got, and then we got rid of the radical, right? Now, which quadrants is tan positive? That's why you're going to do this. 1 and 3. See, all and tan. So there's two things you can do. You can check those ones off, or you can cross those ones out. Step 1 was find out which quadrants you're in. This is why your calculator does not help you. It will only give you quadrant 1 all the time. It won't give you quadrant 3 or 4. But sometimes it will. When that angle's big enough, it'll just give you quadrant 2. Okay? So it's almost a false sense of answer, because I guarantee you in the diploma, that one your calculator gives you will be one of the you can pick. And guess who's picking that? That guy that's going to get 5% of the diploma. Okay? Now, and he's going to think you got it right. He's like, finally, I got one right. I got what they have. I'm so happy. Okay, I got that one. On to the next one. Now, the next thing you do is the reference angle. Now, the way you find the reference angle is you go second tan, and I'm going to go root 3 over 3. Can everybody do that, please? Second tan, root 3 over 3. And what do you get? 30 degrees. And what on the earth does that mean? Okay? Well, that's why we go back to our picture. I am going to draw the reference angles. Now remember, this is a reference angle. This is the angle to the x-axis. So there's my 30, and there's my 30. How did I know to do there? I did it in question 1. I already figured out where I'm going to play. Then, question 2, I find my reference angles. I draw them both in. And question 3, I'm going to give the rotation angles. So starting at 0, my first one is?
Excuse the interruption. Happy birthday to Hyojin Kim and Liam Willauer with their birthdays today. Girls handball, play.
Okay, so the first one is 30 degrees. By looking at my picture, how would I find the second one? 180 plus 30. So the second one is 180 degrees plus 30. So theta is 210 degrees. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, Riley, make sure we're not texting here. Thanks. Okay, now that one is also, I wouldn't have needed my calculator if I know my quadrant 1. Now my quadrant 1, does everybody know their x's and y's and their, which is cos, sine, and tan? Because remember, in quadrant 1, see, quadrant 1 is what I use for reference angle in my head. Okay? So I always, even though maybe I wasn't allowed to play in there, but this is always talking my reference angle. So it could be quad 1, right? Or, yeah, it'll always be quadrant 1. So remember that it works like this. Okay, that's my 30, my 45, and my 60. But this is at 30 degrees. You guys remember the coordinates? 30 degrees. Sine, well, x, y, and z. X, y, and t. What's x? 1/2? No, it's root 3 over 2, comma 1/2. And tan is root 3 over 3. So if you know your unit circle, you would know reference angle root 3 over 3 is 30 degrees or pi over 6. Okay? You need to know that this root 3 over 3 occurs at 30 degrees, which is the same thing as pi over 6. Okay? You guys need to know that pi over 6s are 30 degrees. So if you're still a little iffy on the unit circle, you're going to really struggle through the rest of this stuff. If you know your unit circle, you're going to find this stuff extremely easy. Okay? So I guess those that learn it will be rewarded. Those that don't, we'll figure it out on the test. Now, here is the angle measure in radians now. So we're going to be in radian mode. Determine the quadrant's angle, or what quadrants we're going to be in. So first, determine the quadrants. Second one, reference angle. And it's always between 0 and pi over 2. 0 and pi over 2. Okay, then that's quadrant 1. Okay, this is every answer you need is in there because I only find out the positive angle, and there's no such thing as a reference angle greater than 90. Right? So between 0 and 90, that's how you can get your reference angle. Now, let's do let's go to the next page. And okay, actually, we'll go back to this page. We'll do example 1 because it's not a nice one. Well, it kind of is, but let's do it without our knowledge of. These are so hard to do without the unit circle. And you're not supposed to even know the unit circle yet. I'm supposed to teach it to you later. But if we use the unit circle, this is pretty nice. Now, cos x equals -1/2. Now, do you see how I don't have to do Step A, I do not have to, this is not a reference angle, okay? So, first thing I'm going to do, step 1. Step 1, which quadrants am I in? How do I even, like, what should I do? Just, like, look at it and guess? I've got to put cast down. And I'm looking for what? What's negative? Where cos is negative. So where is cos negative? So we're happy with 2 and 4? No, 2 and 3. Okay, so these. Now, number 2, I will go second cos. Second cos what? Come on, you guys. Second cos what? Does anybody know what I put in my calculator? Second cos 0.5. What are we ignoring? Negative sign. Now, I know, because I know my unit circle, where does cos equal half? You know what? That's 2 pi over 6. That's pi over 3. I know what happens at pi over 3, but you probably got a decimal. What'd you get? 1.05. Keep going. 0.47. Now what I want you to do, don't do anything, but divide by pi. Can you divide by pi? You should get 0.33333. Go math, enter. And that's 1/3 pi, right? So your calculator will get you that. And again, it's a really good tool. Now I knew it was pi over 3 because of my unit circle. So if you know your unit circle, you would have been, what's up there, at 1/2 root 3 over 2. Okay, oops, that's not good. So this is 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6. It's a 2 pi over 6, that's pi over 3. Okay, so now, that is my reference angle, pi over 3. So then I draw my pi over 3, which is 2 pi over 6. So it's going there and there. Okay, that's pi over 3, pi over 3. You see how I go back to my picture. Now 3, I'm going to figure out my angles. What is my first angle? How would I find my first angle? Pi minus pi over 3. Okay? Now, these are a lot easier than you think, because how do you do it? Like, how do you got to do common denominator, right? So do you see how this is the same thing as 3 pi over 3? What's 3 pi over 3 minus pi over 3? 2 pi over 3. Okay? That's the one angle, so that's the one theta. The other theta is pi plus pi over 3, right? Now I can't add or subtract without common denominator, so I'm going to make this a 3 pi over 3. That gives me the answer, 4 pi over 3. Okay? Know your reference, put them in, and then use common sense. And remember, it's pi and 2 pi. Pi over 2, 3 over, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 over 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 piles over 4. Okay, at every 45. Okay, next page. Okay. We actually did which one much harder than A. Let's do B. Secant theta equals negative root 2. That's a scenario of, yeah, right. Okay, how would you do that if you haven't been to class? In fact, I'd love to have the time for any of you guys to figure out that. Give you 20 minutes. Okay, Math 30-1s that have been here every day. So you guys see if you can find the answer to that. Okay? Maybe no one will get it. And you'll see how easy it is if you know the steps. Okay? So hopefully you're going to get those steps really well articulated today on your study sheet. Yep. Because the absolute value of that, like are you talking, why is it always going to be in there? Rotation angles have to be between 0 and 2 pi. Okay? Good question. Okay, secant theta equals negative root 2. Okay? Who's secant's buddy? Cos. So this is the same thing as cos theta equals 1 over negative root 2. Right? Now, remember how to rationalize the denominator. This is the same thing as negative root 2 over 2. What's wrong? I hear whispering. It's like against the law. In some countries you could be shot for that. You're lucky you live in Canada, where we have the freedom to leave it down there. But now, we've done step A, right? We haven't done anything about this question yet. Step 1, where is cos negative? See, we're looking at this for step 1. Cos is negative in 2 and 3 again, right? Now, next is the reference. The reference angle, we will do cos negative 1 of root 2 over 2. Now, does everybody know? Come on, you guys know what root 2 over 2 is? 45, a.k.a. because we are, check your domain. What's your domain? Right? Remember, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're just in quadrant 1, so it's at pi over 4. So I draw my reference at pi over 4 on both of these. Okay, 3 is find out the rotation angle. The first one, how would I find the first one? Pi minus pi over 4. Right? Because pi is all the way around. Minus pi over 4 should bring me back. Now that's the same thing as 4 pi over 4. So this is all I do. I put my 4's in front. 4 pi over 4 minus pi over 4 is 3 pi over 4. Okay, that's one of them. And just down here we have a little bit of room. Let's find the second one. How would I find the second one? Pi plus pi over 4. And that's the same thing as 4 pi over 4. That's 5 pi over 4. Now, if you know your unit circle, you can just you should be able to even imagine where they are. Because at those two cases, will your calculator give you this? No. But right now, really quick, you guys, go cos 3 pi over 4. Okay? That should equal negative root 2 over 2. So in your second, you put negative root 2 over 2 equals. See if you get the same answer. Same decimal. And now do cos 5 pi over 4. You should get the same decimal 3 times. Now, if you're not getting it now, you're putting in your calculator wrong. Maybe you're in the wrong mode even. Maybe you're in degree mode. Yep. If they aren't, You can use your unit circle to get them, and we have to learn those. Those are the little bit more difficult ones, but you can use your unit circle to get those other ones. So far, they're all going to be there, right? And I'll tell you, later when I need the unit circle to make those other ones, if you don't know unit circle, you are so lost. So do yourself the favor, because if you think you can kind of, I'll study this harder at the end, it really, I'll know right away. You haven't been doing it. I mean, I'm seeing people without study sheets. I'm seeing people with all this stuff. The greatest amount of questions on the diploma is trig. Okay? So really, all we've done is to get you to this point. You have a phenomenal foundation up to now. Doesn't mean you won't give it up and just coast for the rest of the year and find out that now all of a sudden I have 52 in math. I used to have a 92, but trig is worth like almost half of the course, right? Because it's weighted even much more. Okay, we spend much more time on it. So don't get cocky, okay? Stay humble, keep working, or you will be one of those guys going, oh, Mr. Light, never thought it was going to be that hard. Okay, this next one, cosecant theta is undefined. Now what you need to know is there is only one way on the unit circle you will get undefined. How is that? What is the only thing that is undefined on the unit circle? Is cos ever undefined? Look at your unit circle. Is there a cos? Is there an x undefined on your unit circle? There's no undefined for cos. There's no undefined for sine. There's only undefined for tan. What makes undefined in tan? Does anybody know? Does everybody know this? Maybe you don't. Do you know that tan theta equals sine theta over cos theta? Whenever cos is 0, aren't you dividing by 0? When is cos 0? Right? Now, this means cosecant theta equals, oops, not a C. I guarantee you. Undefined means 1 over 0. You need to know that. Because that's the only thing that's ever going to give you undefined in a unit circle. You take all those numbers, what could give you, in what spot could you ever have that? And that's at that. So, who's cosecant's buddy? So sine theta is 0 over 1, which is 0. So when is cosecant undefined? It's when sine equals 0. Okay? So if we were just talking about sine, cos, or tan, tan's the only time it'll be undefined. But when is, there's times where your reciprocal functions will be undefined. Okay? So now we're looking for when does sine. Now, here's the question. Step 1, which quadrants are we in? How do we know which quadrants we're in? We got to look for the sign in front of 0. What's the sign in front of 0? It is plus or minus. Okay? Now, before that, you could say, well, I didn't know that. But now you do. Okay? So, you're going to be in all the quadrants. 2, reference angle. When does sine equal in the, come on, think in quadrant 1, when does the y equal 0? The x-axis, right? Because it's 1 comma 0 there, and the y is 0. So the reference is 0 degrees. Now I need to draw my reference angle of 0 degrees. We'll be there, we'll be there, and we'll be there. Why do I know that I have to go all the way around? Because of my domain. It says between 0 and 2 pi. So my first reference angle would be, or so my rotation angle would be 0 degrees, then pi. Well, I shouldn't be saying 0 degrees, sorry, 0 because we're in radian modes, and 2 pi. So there's a question that has 3 answers to it. There will be ones that have 4. There will be ones that have 1. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, or 4 are all possibilities. Now, what if you were given this question, just, this is your question, say it's, was it tan squared theta equals 3. Okay, now that's just a weird looking beast right from the beginning. But do you know that tan squared theta equals 3? That is the way it's written, but this is what it means. Tan theta squared equals 3. That's what that means. Okay? Now, what do? I want to take the square root of both sides. When you take the square root of both sides, make sure you put a plus minus. So it's when does tan theta equal plus or minus root 3? Now, first of all, because it's plus minus, do you see that I'm in all 4 quadrants? When is tan positive or negative? Here, 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 and here. Now, just to do the reference angle, so I've done 1, to the ref. I'm just going to do when does tan equal root 3? Pi over 3 or 2 pi over 6, okay? So for the reference angle, just so you guys know, what happens right here at pi over 3. Here's how you remember your tans. It is 0, root 3 over 3, root 3, or sorry, 1, root 3, undefined. Those are your angles in the first quadrant. That's tan, right? Those are your answers. Now, the reference angle is root 3, so I'm going to draw my root 3s. 1, 2, that one wasn't very good. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So this one will have 4 answers. The first answer will be, you go clockwise. What's the first answer? What angle is that? Pi over 3, right? How would you find the second answer? Pi minus. Oops. Now remember, you want to make this 3 pi over 3, so you can subtract with a common denominator. And that would be 2 pi over 3. Oops. Yep, 2 pi over 3, which is 4 pi over 6, right? 1. Oh no, where I'm doing my over 6s. 1, 2, 4. Right, 4 pi over 6. Okay, the other one, how would I figure out the next angle? Okay, I've got this one. How do I figure this one out? Pi plus pi over 3, and that's 5 pi over 3. And the last one, 2 pi minus pi over 3. Now 2 pi is the same thing as 6 pi over 3 minus pi over 3. Oh, this one I did wrong. This should have been 4 pi over 3. Okay, and 6, that's 5 pi over 3. Okay, so there are my 4 answers. or that one. Okay, so we are doing 1 to 5 A, C, E, dot, 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 and 6 to 11.